Now I want to talk to you brothers out there, okay? I want to talk to some of y'all. Not all. We're all different, okay? No matter what they say, how they frame things, what box they have waiting for you to get in. Usually it's a coffin. Usually it's a coffin, man. I want you gentlemen out there to take stock of yourself, you know? I truly want you to save yourself, okay? I want you to save yourself, black men, okay? I'm not gonna say the acronym and shit. I'm just, I want to be honest about this shit. I have this picture here of this gentleman, and I want you to use this mugshot as a cautionary tale, okay? It's a cautionary tale because nothing on this earth, okay, God's green earth that has been corrupted by the humans on it, is worth the rest of your fucking life, okay? The rest of your life. Sometimes things happen and you're gonna hurt for that shit. Sometimes things happen so bad you're scarred for the rest of your life, okay? It's not the end of your life. And no one's asking you to rug sweep anything, okay? And you're gonna be angry, and it's okay to be angry. It's okay to have a low boiling rage just under the skin. It lets you know that you're human or whatnot, okay? If you can have some adversity and have a static reaction inside and out and shit, you might need some serious therapy and shit, okay? Alright? Now, I make these commentaries because I care, okay? Because I give a damn, alright? I don't want to see you, I don't know any of you, who you are, okay? I don't know who you are, but I care enough to come and tell you that nothing on God's green earth is worth throwing away your fucking life and shit, okay? I'm not gonna come on here and wag my finger at this man or you, anybody else and shit. I'm not gonna do that and whatnot because, I want you to understand the times that we live in and shit, okay? The times that we live in, okay? A lot of us are functioning on old software, right? I can't think of any other way to put it right now. I'm just shooting from the hip. You know, we're our mindset is about 30 years back, and the mindset of across the line is a little bit forward and shit. A disposable, homogenized, uh, you know, parody of reality, basically. You see, this man crashed out, right? This man crashed out epically, right? He just lost it, right? It's understandable, right? We're not gonna sit here and wag our finger at this man and then know that we would have done much worse than what he did in given the same situation and shit. Okay. Now I'm talking about. I'm not talking about DV. I'm talking about men's mental health and shit. Not in a finger wagging way that we're used to. Okay, we're used to people using that to gaslight us and to continually batter us on a daily basis. You're in spiritual warfare every day of your fucking life. Okay, and this man, he crashed out. He had an epic crash out and shit. And it's understandable. Okay, and a lot of you know you would have done much, much worse. Okay, and the result would have been the same and shit. It's the end of you. It's the end of you and shit. I hurt every time that a man throws away his fucking life and shit for another a sentient, self-described human being. Okay, this man at some point during his uh what a decade or more marriage, something tipped him off. Right, something tipped him off, and I guess he DNA tested his children. Right, he had 3 children. He DNA tested them, found out none of the children were his and whatnot. And the news reports suggest that the kind of DNA testing that he did is the kind that gives you markers. It says that when you get the DNA test, it'll say that you're related in this degree or whatever. I know I'm probably describing it wrong, but not only did he discover that these 3 children of various ages were not his, he discovered that they had been fathered by close relatives, very close relatives. And, doesn't take, he didn't tell himself 2 plus 2 is 5. A lot of us, we know that our partner is cheating and we ignore that shit because that's what we're trained to do. We're trained to carry slings and arrows, carry the weight of the world on our shoulders like Atlas, right? Well, they beat us about the knees and head, right? It's not enough to carry all of that shit and all that burden, but you have to be excoriated and shit on while you're doing it in perpetuity and shit, okay? And you have no control of your legacy or whatnot. Your legacy, once you give your seed, is in the hands of somebody like the woman that cheated on him with more than one of his family members, it seems. Okay? Maybe each one of his children was fathered by a different family member and shit, and they all knew the shit. They were all looking at his face. He was around them up there, and they knew they was having sex with his wife or his woman or whatever. She wasn't no wife. She wasn't no wife. She was a whore. Okay? A whore of Babylon. I don't want to lie about this shit. We need to stop lying about this. Is this really shame if it's true? Is it really shame? None of us are clean and shit. You know, they say throw stone. Let he who was without sin throw the first stone in the, I guess a glass house. Alright? But can you imagine being this man and finding this shit out after probably, like a decade and a half and maybe a few extra months to change? Can you imagine what that means? Someone stole your life. They violated you. Okay, they stole your life. We hear these women talking about, men being creepy and, the fucked up things the men do. We're violent, we're predators, this, that, and other. They did never talk about the whole fucking picture. Okay? And I'm tired of it, and I'm not gonna stand for it anymore and shit, okay? Okay? This man threw his life away. Alright? He threw his life away. And I'm gonna say, despite, the look of this man, and everything, he is a spiritual lightweight. And, he felt like there was nothing else he could do. It wasn't about his honor or anything. It was about the pain that he was feeling and shit when he discovered this betrayal. Alright? I want to talk about those family members and shit. What kind of son of a bitch, what kind of motherfucker you gotta be to do some shit like that and then be looking at the guy all up in his face? That is a special kind of hatred and shit. And I gotta be honest, you deserve, those family members deserve to be hung from a tree in the nude and set on fire. Okay? That's how I feel emotionally. Okay? That's how I feel emotionally and shit. I was born in the wrong ethnicity and shit. Okay? They do things like this in the, other countries. Okay? They do things like this. I've seen documentaries of, men being summarily executed for, shitty behaviors and shit. Seriously. A guy I used to know, he made a documentary, and one part of the documentary shows a group of men against a brick wall in an Eastern European country, and the camera pans out, you see like 12 guys with guns, and they just, poppity pop. You get it? Alright? I don't want to go off on a tangent and shit. Okay? I'm not making excuses for what this guy did and shit. I have to say that and shit, but like a lot of you know, you would have done much worse. This man went to his wife's job with the gun on him, with the weapon. I don't know what caliber weapon. I think it was a 22 or something. I don't know what. He shot her multiple times and then pistol whipped her with the weapon that he had. Okay? And the fact that he shot her multiple times and pistol whipped her, and the fact that she is actually still alive, recovering in the hospital and shit, and the fact that the bullet wounds that she sustained were non-life threatening, according to news reports and shit, tells me a lot and whatnot. Even though she did what she did, alright? Even though she did what she did, you have to look at the crime itself and shit and consider that he was in such a compromised emotional state that he probably couldn't even correctly aim the weapon at her, Or maybe he was just conflicted that this woman that some describe as the love of his life for many years, the only woman that, that he made a wife and shit. He built a life. He thought he had a family, and he found out, a piece of paper tells him that, he don't have a family. She's not his wife, and there's people that slept with her and shit, fathered them goddamn children, more than one. You're not his family. Okay, it's disgusting and shit. I don't want to sit up here and offer platitudes. You can get that wherever. Go find some other motherfucking video shit. But you would have done much worse. Alright? Now I'm telling you, kings, okay? We hear what they want, what they think they want, what they want all the time. We hear the complaints, we hear the bitching all the time and shit. We hear that shit all the time. They're not shy about telling us what they think they want shit. When they get what they want, they don't want that either. They're not happy. It's not your job. It's not your job to make someone happy in life and shit. I'm pretty sure this guy was unhappy before he even found out these kids wasn't his and shit. There's no way that she could carry out this level of deception and shit. And him not figure something out, know something, and kind of ignore it and shit till it got too much for him that he had to find out for himself. Right? And I guarantee you he found out she was cheating with somebody, probably not even the three guys that fathered their children. Probably some other guy, or a woman. I guarantee that, it got to the point where he had to, find out for himself. And what he found out destroyed his ass. Okay, it destroyed him. He's sitting in jail right now. I don't think he gives a shit. Okay, I don't think he gives a shit. The only thing I think he gives a shit is that she's still breathing. Okay, and a lot of you would have did much worse than shit. And there's a lot of people out there that would agree with me, but they gotta play the role and shit. Okay, it's disgusting. There is no checks and balances for fraud. For fraud, right? No checks and balances for that shit. Take that into consideration and shit. Once you hear women talking about putting a ring on it and all that bullshit, right? When you hear that phrase, it's her body, her choice and shit. And I want you to marry that shit. I want you to interlock that last one with that thing, mama's baby, daddy maybe and shit. I used to hear that when I was a kid and didn't know what the fuck they were talking about. I was raised so sheltered and shit that almost makes me like handicapped and shit with the person, the first person I was with. Makes me handicapped and shit. I think the only thing I did wrong at the outset at the beginning of that relationship, I didn't make her understand just how sheltered I was. Okay? She was dealing with some shit. And, it is what it is and shit. But this man, can you imagine what that feels like to have 3 kids of various ages and been with somebody for over a decade and a half and had to find out they were doing this shit? Not only were they doing the shit, they're doing it with your fucking family members. They fucking your family members. It almost makes you wish you have fucked your best friend, Like, what can I tell? I could tell this guy nothing, but I could tell you something. Look, you find out your wife, or your girlfriend, or whoever the fuck you're interested in, is cheating on you, okay? You need to have a static reaction to this shit. Static reaction. Me, myself, I lean towards humor and shit. I find it hilarious when a woman is threatening me with infidelity. Oh, if you don't do it, I'll say it. I'll go fuck this nigga over here. I was like, it's your hole down here, okay? It's your motherfucking hole, right? It's not my hole. If it was my hole, I would be able to lock it up. You can't control what they do. The mindset of somebody who would do something like that is inhumane. This is being cuckolded, right, like this, with family members and friends and shit. It is the second worst thing you could do to a man besides cutting his nuts off. Right? Besides literally castrating him. Castrating him is number 1. Cuckolding them is number 2 and shit. Right? Actually, cuckolding them with family members and close friends is number 2. Right? Number 3 is that the level of criminal indifference you had as you carried on these different traits and whatnot. I mean, shit for the streets, man. This guy needs to have. I hope that while he was getting that DNA test, that he got a full STI panel. Take your ass to a free clinic and you got health insurance. Use that shit I hope he used it before he went, he went on this rampage and shit. And I don't want to. It would be even worse if we found out he was infected with an STI, with an STD. A lot of guys find out that the women are being unfaithful when they catch an STD because you know, they think that she's exclusive and shit. So, what's the use of an STD if you're married and got kids and all this bull? I mean, why use a prophylactic? A lot of women would take that as an insult. They see you putting a rubber on and shit, in a committed relationship. And I can't tell you how many women I've met that tried to convince me not to wear a condom, sleep with their motherfucking ass. And I had to remind them that, you know, my mom, my late mother, was a nurse. And cringy or not, I used to hear my mom yelling at the female people in the house about, things that I shouldn't hear. Right? And it just made me cognizant, but I was so sheltered and shit. And I did dumb stuff, you know. And paid the price. Okay? Paid the fucking price and shit. Look, when you find out your woman is cheating and shit, let her go. Alright? Go somewhere, you know, go anywhere. Just get the fuck away from her shit. If you're highly emotional, you're unable to govern your passion and shit, and being rejected and, you know, defiled in such a way, you know, govern yourself. Get the fuck out of there. Okay? Get the fuck out of there. Seek uh, medical help. Get a medical evaluation and shit. And just, fire her ass. Just to be like, okay, hey, it's cool. Hey, that is your hole down there. Okay? I can't control what you do with your hole down there. Shit, and I don't want to talk about anything. There's nothing to talk about. The woman that does that does not love you. The woman that sleeps with your family members, close friends, hates your ass. Okay? And, in the long run, what does it really matter? It's her fucking hole down there. Like, why should you care once you know that? Alright? Once you know that. Fuck. In this society, shit, this fucked up transactional society we live in today, shit, a lot of women overprice and overvalue their hole down there. Alright? It's not worth shit. It's not worth shit. Okay? It's not because she makes you exclusive or anything. It's just like being a decent human being. What kind of woman would do something like this? And look at the consequence, and look at the fact that because he's a black man, he's gonna have to just take it from the sisterhood and shit. He's gonna have to take it from the sisterhood up his ass. And she'll be given a pass because of her vagina. Okay? And they don't just rug sweep the fact that she was fucking multiple family members. And none of those children was his. And that he was in a marriage with her, taking care of his kids, and they got pictures and wearing the same clothes and all that kind of shit. And she all smiling and shit. And she knows she doing this grimy, disgusting shit. And the woman's gonna tell you like, well, he probably cheated or something. They always try to find a way to rug sweep the malfeasant criminal behavior. When the correct response is, she's a whore. Okay? She's a whore. She's irredeemable. She's worth nothing. Okay? Nothing. Alright? Your best bet, your best way of dealing with shit is to, fire her ass. Just be like, okay, cool. Say, hey, I discovered, I know what you're doing, and I don't need to talk about anything. Goodbye. And in this community, the, supposed self-titled black community and shit, as far as this shit goes, I wouldn't advise you to have any closure, like, face-to-face. I advise you to keep it moving. Just dip out. Okay? You got kids, see a lawyer or whatever, or you go down to town, they have pro bono lawyers in these courthouses that'll help you take care of, the basic legal matters. Okay? And it would behoove you if you have children to go to the court first. This guy, man, if he hadn't crashed out and everything, he would still be fucked. Besides a possible STI that she probably gave him or could have given him. I'm just assuming. Okay? I don't know what prompted them to do the DNA test. but he would be up to his ears in legal fees, just trying to get his name off of the birth certificates of these 3 children that are not biologically his and shit. And a woman's just going to tell you, well, so what, even though they're not your kids, you're their daddy because we're married and blah, blah, blah. The mental gymnastics is astounding. You don't have to get any bullshit, okay? You dip out on a monkey ass, okay? You don't have to be, I'm not telling you to become a fugitive or nothing and shit, but just fire ass. Just tell you, hey, I know what you're doing. This says this. I don't want to talk about none of this shit. And I only tell you that if they corner you. A lot of these motherfuckers are looking for emotional feedback, right? They thrive in chaos. So they are looking. They want to know, they want to know they hurt you, okay? They want to see the look on your face. They want to see the look of despair that they slept with someone else and shit. I cheated on you. They want to see you break down and cry. They give them nothing because they're worth nothing if they do this kind of shit. Man, it's her body part down there. She pee out of that thing and, it's just her fucking body part. Like, she ain't need to take care of her own cooch, her own diseased cooch. She let a bunch of family members run up in that shit and then look him in his face and sit across tables and he raising her, helping her raise her, her bastard children. His kids don't deserve that shit either. What the fuck is she gonna tell them? And ain't no other females in his family gonna, take care of old girl, give us a public ass whooping that she deserves. Right? She's gonna get a pass. They're gonna rug sweep and shit. We know how it goes in our community. It disgusts me. Right? It disgusts me. She disgusts me. I don't know anything about it. But I know that, we don't say this enough when these things happen. Like, well, what set them off? I mean, we find out shit. Like, you get videos, troll videos of men and women and everything in between laughing and excoriating him and shit for being cuckolded and shit. Calling him a simp. Saying he's weak when he's the strongest motherfucker in everyone's life over there. His family members, they're weak. They have no honor, no integrity and shit. Blood is not thicker than water in this motherfucking community. This wouldn't have happened. At least not to the capacity that it did, I don't want to say nothing about her appearance and shit, but, it just speaks to really thirsty people and shit, And I got this one cousin, man, and he is the same age as me, and he's about 4 months older than me, shit, right? His birthday is like January or some shit. Yeah, he's like 4 months older than me. Sometimes when we were growing up, like, I would see this guy, he would see a woman that he liked, and he would do this weird Homer Simpson, like, when Homer sees a donut and he just starts drooling out the mouth, he would be doing shit like that and going, oh, look at that girl, oh. And it always disgusted me. It always made me feel like slapping the shit out of him. And I never did because I was raised, I was the black sheep of the family, but I was raised with a strict moral code while no one else was. I was heavily policed growing up and no one else was. And they only did this to artificially try to make me a loser. Okay? Not realizing I was self-aware this entire fucking time and it's still clueless to this fucking day and I could care less. I don't give a shit. No pot to piss in a mansion or a fucking house. Flipped house. 2 flipped houses. Alright? Don't be messy out here in these streets. And what they say in certain circles, as far as these women go and, what they do with their holes down there. A certain guy out there, he says the juice ain't worth the squeeze.
The Black Patriarchy. A non-existent group of fictional black male power brokers not discredited, erroneously jailed or outright killed by the minority majority who look the other way as they work tirelessly to shame, oppress, and outright take out the altruistic black female populace of the honorable democratic United States of America. 3K's inset bitches. These evil wealthy members of the black patriarchy are the sole reason for all the ills of the black community, walking, talking, holding down jobs, and doing everything up to and including giving their very lives in service to their baby mamas and baby's motherfucking kids. Their motto that strikes fear into the hearts of black women everywhere: bitches ain't shit but hoes and tricks.